Guys, Moon Knight is less than 2 weeks away right now, and we got some predictions for this show. Welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew. Chris and Rob here, as always, with you, and we are talking our biggest predictions for a highly anticipated Marvel series. Yes. I feel like I say this every month, and I'm very excited about this show, Rob. So give it to me straight. What do you think is going to happen for this kind of very new style of show for Marvel? This origin show, this darker, bloodier, mentally screwed up show that we're going to see.
I think you kind of just said it right there in your question, Chris, right? I think this show is going to be setting the tone for what we expect and want from street levels. I feel like you kind of got that with Hawkeye, with like how like the interplay connects and the fighting and stuff like that. But like that's still like it's superhero playing on a street level, and I feel like we don't really have a street level superhero to say, even though we have so many characters that fit into that mode. And what I mean by that is like we're gonna get these darker tones that we're used to from the Netflix shows, which are now on Disney Plus, right? We're gonna get the mental torture that Marc Spector is going through. We're gonna get that anguish. We're gonna get that physicality, that brutalness that we're so used to in some of these other street level superhero shows, Daredevil, Jessica Jones. We're gonna get all that kind of stuff. It's gonna normalize that for the MCU audience, and it's gonna be very exciting to see how an MCU complete show is coming out, not something that was released once and now accepted into this. So I'm very excited to see the standard that they're going to set, and hopefully it meets the standard that Netflix was able to do with Daredevil.
Oh man, I hope so. I'm very excited for this as well. I want all the brutality, right? Obviously we've seen Moon Knight a lot in these trailers. We see him in that one scene, he's beating a guy down in like a public bathroom. And I'm also interested in Mr. Knight, Rob, because Mr. Knight is arguably the more vicious side of the Moon Knight character, where he is just going to be bloodied and crazed. I'm kind of interested to see how far Disney will go down the rabbit hole. I think it's a good sign that we're hearing about Disney kind of changing up the tiers, where there's going to be kind of the kid-friendly option of Disney Plus, and then the anything goes option of Disney Plus. Obviously, bringing those Netflix series in helps that a lot too. So I'm really interested to see this vigilante-style justice, as well as the more complex villain, right? This new side of villainy that we're going to get with Marvel, where Arthur Harrow, and you're paying Ethan Hawke all this money to do this show. He said it, right? He's going to be this David Koresh type cult leader. That is dark stuff, man. That is not your I made a robot and he's trying to take over the world villain.
Yeah, no.
So I think there's a chance that Arthur Harrow, if he's even Arthur Harrow, could be this main villain going forward for some of these street level heroes as we're building up the Black Knight, as we're building up Blade, as hopefully Matt Murdock and all these other characters come back in Kingpin. What if Arthur Harrow is something different? I've heard a lot of rumors that he could be Dracula.
So I've heard this too, and like I like that idea, this whole like Dracula thing. And Moon Knight, even in the current run, he's dealing with vampires right now, right? And like some are friends, some are foe.
Nothing like a friendly vampire.
I like the idea of that, but I feel like it's not going to be Dracula. I feel like
I do too.
I feel like it might be some kind of mystical mumbo jumbo, some dark magic, or like some kind of entity that fits in that world. Sure, but the other thing I think with the Moon Knight show, it's going to be very focused on the beginnings of Moon Knight, right? Him learning how to deal with his DID, him becoming a hero, learning his streets. I feel like if you're there, you're throwing Dracula at him, and then you're throwing like, oh, he has the Midnight. No, what is it called?
Midnight Suns.
No, the other one. Oh, got it.
Defenders.
No, it's Project. If you throw Dracula at him, or Project Midnight, which is his own like essentially like superhero agency where people come to him and he goes beats people up in like his little neighborhood, like all the stuff that established him as more as like a concrete hero. I don't think we're gonna get. I think we're gonna stick to the more the raw and the gritty and work our way up to that. I do like the idea that you've mentioned, like, you know, cameos from other shows like Blade, vampires, and all that kind of stuff, which I could definitely see towards the end of this, like because Moon Knight plays with all of these characters in the Midnight Suns team, you know, fighting all together, and it kind of seems like Marvel's gearing up towards that. I just think we have to focus more on Moon Knight and all the craziness that's there before we get to see, oh, he's working with the Midnight Suns, oh, he has his own agency, oh, there's Dracula. So I think it's going to be a little bit more raw than that.
I like where you're going, and I agree with like 99% of it. I think this is definitely an origin story. I think the Arthur Harrow character, again, it was in one issue of the Moon Knight comics. He was a Nazi doctor. You could change that and make him, again, we know he's going to be basically focused on this other god, Egyptian god called Ammit. So you could have that be the constant battle, right? You're teaching people about Khonshu. You're teaching people about all the identities within Marc Spector, and these gods kind of on opposite fields are going to be going at it in some way. And is that what is the personification of Arthur Harrow now? I think the only way he could be Dracula is if it's Dracula at the lowest point of his power set, kind of trying to absorb and get anything from any type religion religion, God fair. We know Marvel has an expansive, godlike being situation, Asgard obviously being the main one. But if that's the only thing, and maybe they're holding him back for later on, and there's another voice cameo by Blade at the end, not even seeing him, where he's like, Harrow is not who you think he is, kind of thing, which just makes the hair stand up on my neck.
It could just be like a minion of Dracula who's trying to pretend to be Dracula and try to say that I'm Dracula and it's not, and Blade's like, yeah, that's not the real guy.
Rob, I can't have another Mandarin situation. I can't do it.
You can't. No, I think it'd be fine. Like vampires can do that all the time. It's like, oh, I'm Dracula, and nobody knows. He's like, okay,
I'm Dracula,
and he's just something like bigwig, and he's lying and using his name. But
he is, and he's really weak, like Castlevania style, right? Like.
Yeah.
Like, he could be that too. Or, again, they're just changing Arthur Harrow. He's a smaller character, and they're giving him a role that will help with the story, right? The origin story, explaining these Egyptian gods and kind of getting that off the belt for way later stuff. But I'm very excited for the show. And the other side of it, Rob, is we're getting kind of like the first real Batman-esque character, right? We're getting this character who is not really connected to MCU property stuff, but can be.
That's true.
I think there's not going to be really much cameos involved here. I think it's going to be very focused on Marc Spector. Again, you're giving Oscar Isaac arguably 5 personalities to do in the show. It's a lot for anybody.
I think it's just going to be 2. They're going to focus on Moon Knight and Mr. Knight, Stephen Grant and Marc Spector. They're just going to keep it the 4 of them just running the streets. I don't think they're going to add the 3rd one in. I think it's just going to be too much.
I think they're doing all of them, man. I don't know. I don't think you're going to do Moon Knight as a show unless you're like all in, right? Like,
I mean, that's fair.
The second Moon Knight got announced back at one of those shareholder meetings, I was like, oh, okay, they are going for it, because it's not easy for anyone. Oscar Isaac is obviously a great actor. But I think you got to go for it if you're doing it. I'm sure it's going to be like this detective story where all the pieces of his mind, right? He's leaving clues behind for himself to piece the story together, which I think is going to be phenomenal.
So I totally get where you're coming from, because the detective genre of the superhero movies have been the weakest for a while. We haven't really gotten enough of that. We just got it with the Batman, which was fantastic. So it just makes a lot of sense that Moon Knight could follow a lot of the story beats and do the same thing, and we're all going to be happy.
I agree. And in that Moon Knight way, where it's like he's investigating basically himself half the time, right? Like, it's very deep cut. But Rob, we got to answer this question, right? Like, if there is even one MCU cameo or something in here in these 6 episodes, who is it going to be?
I do think they're going to do a cameo, but I don't think it's going to be like the traditional like MCU cameo at the end, like, oh my god, teasing for the next big thing. I think it's going to be very focused on Moon Knight. But I think an easy character that you could have in this world is Kingpin.
Oh.
I feel like very easy you could have Kingpin, and it can literally just be a nod here to Kingpin, or you see it because you have the rich philanthropy side of Marc Spector's personality, Stephen Grant. How does he make all this money, right? Mm-hmm. It could easily be Kingpin adjacent. He had to do some business and knock off somebody that worked for Kingpin, and you see Kingpin getting mad or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great one, is, a street level villain that's bigger than life. But we just got him in Hawkeye, so I'm a little hesitant on that one, but that's the one I think would be easiest. I would love for it to be there, though.
Oh, I mean, we all would, but like, I could see the Kingpin just like a name drop, right? Or one of his monikers, like, someone's talking to Stephen Grant, like, the fat man's not going to be happy you did this, or the big guy's not going to be happy, you know what I mean? Or the man upstairs, whatever they want to call him. Yeah. That would be interesting. On my end, I'm thinking slightly bigger and less at the same time.
Who?
I'm thinking Black Knight. I'm thinking I would love to see Black Knight in this, because one, we know he's kind of this like historian, especially in Europe, right? His family resides in London. He is the descendant of this royalty, these knights. We know a lot of the show is going to take place in France, and Moon Knight's going to be in France a lot and working in another museum. The museums coincide together, and we know that Black Knight at the end had, this mini scene with Blade in the voice of Blade before he touches the ebony blade. So I'm interested to see if there's like a little 1.5 scene of Black Knight where we don't know what's happened with him and Blade, but he's learned so much more, and has he touched the blade yet? And he's coming to Moon Knight because he's like, listen, we need your help with something. Is that Dracula in the background? Is it whatever? But that would be nice because it's so close together. France and England are kind of right there, so that would be not too far away and make a little more sense of where Black Knight was working in the first place.
When you started talking about the Black Knight, I thought you were going to be more focused on Date Whitman's side of it, being a historian. I thought like he's going to go to a museum, try to get more information on Khonshu, and like try to piece the puzzles that he put together. And just at the exhibit is Dane Whitman, and like he talks to him, and Date Whitman gives us some exposition about some random thing here, and that's it. Like I thought like it's bigger but smaller because it's like it's direct connection to a future teammate, and that could be we could find out like down the line that like, oh, Dane was actually like following him to see what's going on because he's been on the radar. But in the Moon Knight show, we don't really see that. I thought that was the angle you were going for.
That'd be great too. I'm actually more inclined for that now. Like if he's just going to meet up, like he needs an expert on what the hell's going on with him.
Sure.
And I don't know if like Egyptian god lore is Dane Whitman's forte, but the fact that it's like France, England's not too far away, and Dane Whitman's there, and he's also either in training with Blade or he's learned so much more since the last time we saw him in that after credit scene of Eternals. Could we see kind of like Dane Whitman be this like slowly building piece in the background of some of these like street level shows?
I like that. That'd be really cool, and that'd be a great way to use Kit Harington and his natural charisma to kind of like be building it up, and also give a new dynamic change to Black Knight, who's a very static character in the comic book. But I don't think we have to worry about him being an expert on like Egyptian gods, because I feel like every 13-year-old like edgy teenager went through a phase and they learned everything about the gods and they just followed that dream. So I think
that's why we have Yugi Moto. Absolutely.
Exactly. But guys, we want to hear your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen in the Moon Knight show that's coming out very soon?
And guys, thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe, turn on your notifications. You do not want to miss our coverage of Moon Knight. We're going to break down every episode, obviously. And if you missed anything, make sure you check it out right here on the channel. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We are the Jersey Comic Crew, and we will see you next time.